consistency is
key.
There you go.
Definitely what's got us here and made us want to continue recording. So I'm so excited.
Thank you once again to everyone who watches every single video, any video. We appreciate it and we hope we're helping.
100%. And you're never alone.
Never alone. To be completely honest, this video came about because Naya and I were deadass having this conversation outside of the camera, and then she was like, let's make a podcast about this, and I was like, yes. So very organically, very much what we feel, so we really hope that you guys are able to relate to it.
We love being just right now, and this just makes it that much more.
That much more, because
right
it's
now.
so like improv and just what we feel.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's get into this video.
Let's get it.
Based off the conversation Naya and I were just having, which is why I mentioned that we decided to start this episode, it's going to be surrounding how to be intentional with your time, especially in your early 20s. And by that, we're going to explain further more in the video, but we really just mean being in a state of mind where you're able to continue this like pattern of really being in the moment. So practicing mindfulness in other terms. And that's what I mean by being intentional in the moment, is when you're out with your friends, when you're eating at a table, dinner with your family, be in that moment. You know, we're constantly checking if he texted, if she texted, what are the plans, what are the function, but intentional in terms of just be conscious and be mindful. And I think that's so important to do in life in general, but starting that pattern, the earlier the better. Reprogram your mind. And I think based on the conversation we were having, we chose to do this episode because it's something that it's a struggle.
It is.
It's a struggle that a lot of people go through, not even really realizing it. And I know I've fallen into that. So
to be intentional with your time is actually a very difficult thing. We think we're always intentional. We think constantly we're doing the things we're meant to be doing in the moment. But if you're not actually thinking about what you're doing, honestly, if you live in that mindset, it is difficult to understand what you're trying to get about certain things. And so like that can come out in relationships, that can come out in friendships, in anything, in work, in literally all of life aspects. If you're not trying to be intentional with what you're doing, you could fall down a different path and you can go down different lines. So I think to be intentional is to actually have an idea of what you want for yourself, and then try to go about a scenario of what your higher self would do. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily always like what you feel in the moment, because we can go off of emotions, we can go off of whatever we're feeling right now, but like if you disregard everything you've thought about or what you're trying to get to, the end point, like if you're not being intentional with your present moment and what you're doing, you can go down the wrong path and not really understand where you're going. So to you, what do you think being intentional can come out into in your life? Like what are the effects of it?
Well, it's kind of a good example is what we were talking about.
Yeah.
So Naya and I were talking about how when we go out with, you were saying how when you go out with your friends, like you admire and you are able to see in other girls when they are fully just there with their friends, not looking for guy attention, not looking for who's going to get the next shot, because you're like that.
100%.
And so with people that aren't, you just are kind of like more like, come on. Which I feel like I resonate with and I respect, because that's kind of what being intentional with your time relates to. It's like if you're going out with your friends and you're going out, then you want to make sure you're like hanging out with your friends, not always needing to look for something external.
100%.
And I think that kind of how you said, when you're not really paying attention to where you are, what you're doing in that moment, it can take you down a different path, you said. Mm-hmm. In my head, it can make you feel lost, because it's like, what do you really want? You're not enjoying these moments. And if I'm being so honest, I feel like I've been that. I've gone out with friends with the just, you know,
it's mindless. It's almost
it's mindless.
Like you don't think about being intentional until you're like, damn, like things can get better if I actually know what I want out of this scenario, or I know what I want from it. And I've done that my whole life. I'm still learning that. It's like you have to, like, first say going out with friends, like you're saying, if you're constantly in a room full of people who aren't really resonating with who you are, and you know you're there, but you don't really know why you're there, and you don't really get along with them, but you're going.
Yeah, I feel like you're not what's the word? I know it in Spanish. Aprovechando. Taking advantage.
Yeah,
I feel like you're not taking advantage of the things you have right now, which is friendship and your ability to like hang out with friends, looking for friends, dance. I feel like nowadays it's so much more common. Who's gonna get the first free shot? And oh, that guy's looking at me. And he wants me in a section. Like, what's your number? And like, let's hook up and make out.
It's always like a competition type thing. But what if you were just in the moment? Yeah. What if you were to just be with your friends, be with the person you're with, and see what comes? Because I think when we're constantly looking for the external, and we're constantly like, oh, I'm gonna get this out of this, I'm gonna get this out of this, I'm gonna get this. What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah, it's like you don't know yourself.
Exactly.
Like you don't know what you want.
It's like you're not. Like you said, you're lost. Mm-hmm. It gives off you're lost, because if you're constantly looking for
something else, like there's something missing.
100%, and
that's so deep.
As I actually saw this. It's like going to the grocery store when you're hungry. When you're hungry, going to the grocery store, it is a bad idea. And it's like you're gonna grab whatever you want just because it'll fill that need in the moment. It's like when you're getting out of a relationship. You think you have all these options, you think you're whatever, but deep down, you know you're not supposed to be grabbing all these options. You're not. You're generally supposed to be
like you don't need all of those ingredients to make the perfect
recipe. Exactly, and like it's like looking, like you constantly want to get that to help in the moment, but is that really what you want?
No, that's a great ass analogy.
Right?
That was good. I've heard the grocery store one, but not compared to like the relationship one.
That's what I tried to take it as, because personally, of course, I know some people I know are going through this. I know I'm going through this in our 20s. Everyone is going through many different things, and like when you think about it in a personal life aspect of, you wouldn't go to the grocery store hungry as heck because you know you're just gonna grab everything you see. Why go to a dating app right after dating someone just to constantly get what you want, but it's not going to be the right thing.
Right, and you will end up with a sense of like probably deeper like emptiness, loss.
Because you're not getting.
You don't know it in the moment because you're feeding that emotional hit of dopamine.
That's where like manifestation, I think, is not. You have to know what you want to manifest it. And a lot of people think, oh, I want a guy with muscle. I want a guy who can take care of themselves. Like, that's borderline stuff. Like, you have to go deeper. Like, what traits do you want in the guy? A person that is close with their family. A person like it goes deeper. And when you're manifesting it, you have to those are the traits you have to look for. It's not become because
become and look for.
Yeah, because you're asking the difference between looking and manifesting and expecting it to come. But to manifest in your life, you have to know what you're looking for. And I think people think they know what they're looking for, but then why are you going to the next guy? Why do you go to the next person right after you finish with another guy? It's because you don't know how to be alone. You don't know how to be on your own, and there's 100%. Deeper stuff. So I think it's always manifest. I want this, but what are you trying to manifest? Just a guy who knows how to take care of himself and knows you have to go deeper.
Yeah.
So I think that's the difference.
Santa does that shit.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So the looking for, you just have to know what you're looking for.
Yeah, so I guess you're like saying like just like you said, zoom out and be like, where are you in that moment?
Yeah, exactly. You are in a pattern of constantly looking and constantly trying to be like, okay, I'm gonna manifest this into my life because of a certain thing, or I want this because of this, or like let's say you got out of a relationship, and you're like, I just want to feel seen right now. I just want to feel like someone loves me or someone's there for me. We don't take it as that. But a lot of people come out of relationships and they're like, oh, like, I don't know what to do. And so they go right into I want to look for it. I want to go for a person. And I don't think that's necessarily bringing a person to you naturally.
Yeah.
I think when you can manifest a good partner and be like, I want this quality, but you have to know what you want in that person.
Yeah. Like, you have to, I feel like, look at yourself in a deeper sense and do that introspection like before like you get married to that
100%,
and be like, where was I? What am I feeling? What am I really feeling when I'm not with this person?
Why am I looking for something right now?
Or why am I urging myself to? Is it because I really I'm like, yeah, this man makes whatever?
Yeah, so
or is it because it's like, fuck that dude?
Literally, like we're watching Temptation Island right now, right?
Yeah.
And you can see that all these partners are coming together, and then they meet the temptation of other people, and so you're like,
they switch up.
Everything switches up so quickly, and you're like, oh my god, am I thinking intentionally right now, or am I thinking like this is just gonna blow off?
Yeah, I'm trying to hit that quick dopamine.
Exactly.
And even people call them out on it, and that's what you should do with friends. You should be like, dude, I don't feel like you know what you want, because going back to the whole it's gonna make you feel lost if you're constantly in a cycle of just looking for something and not being in the moment of what you're doing.
So true. And
two, there are so many conversations. You always hear this phrase time life goes by so fast, and youth isn't forever. And I feel like we really do take for granted the fact that in our 20s there's possibility for so much, and there's so much change, and it's just prime time. I think we haven't lived nearly hopefully most of our life, so we only have this right now to compare to. But even you hear people talk about when they were in their 20s and and so many memories, because at the end of the day that really is all we have is memories, and you don't want to be filled in your life or in your heart with memories that are so foggy because you were somewhere else here.
So true.
And I think that that's so hard,
and that comes with also being intentional with taking time for yourself too. I think we think being intentional with who we choose and whatever, but when you're intentional with taking time for yourself, I think you will attract the right people. You will bring,
because you'll get a step closer to what it is that I want.
Exactly.
Who am I?
It's the what am I looking for.
So I don't know if you agree to this, but referring to this topic, I feel like a lot of people, including myself, that's why I'm you might relate, we don't even realize that, or I don't even realize that I'm not being intentional in the moment. So true. Because, for example, let's continue to use this analogy of what you mentioned, going out with your girlfriends, right? Which is what we started talking about. Yeah. I may think that I'm being intentional in terms of I'm being intentional with how my makeup's gonna look, what clothes I'm gonna wear, how my hair, what places we're gonna go to. But when you're actually in that setting and you skip that prep, for me, I now talking to you about this and about this topic, catch myself looking around and where the function at? You know, it's
100%.
It's I'm with my friends right now, and they made just as much of an effort to get ready, and it's I'm getting ready to go out with my friends. That is the whole thing in my mind. So why am I looking for
I think we get caught up, and it's always we want more. Yeah. And somewhere in between we get lost that what we have right now is enough.
Yeah, but my whole point is we don't even realize it until after. Right now that and it's hard to accept that or maybe reflect, because you want to think no, I'm not chasing things. But the whole point of I think what we're talking about right now, and what we hope that you guys are able to relate to, is that it's a subconscious chase. You're not really gonna tell yourself I'm always looking for attention. Maybe you are, maybe you're part of that.
So true.
But typically you don't want to admit that to yourself. You want to admit things just come. So if you feel like you're missing something subconsciously that isn't fulfilling you, then you're subconsciously going to chase that need, because our brain and our bodies are always looking to make us feel a sense of instant dopamine hit, comfortability, where it's talking to you about it made me realize that I wasn't even aware that I wasn't being intentional. So going back to what we had explained, intentional in the sense of being mindful of where you're at physically and your state of mind. Where is it at?
Yeah, and I think, like we said, understanding where you're at right now, it can help you, because many people are oh, I'm sad right now, so I'm gonna go out and look for this. I'm gonna go look for this, but if you're sad right now, that generally means you need time to yourself to figure out for you what you need. People constantly, like you said, the dopamine hit. It feels good to feel validated in the moment when you just got out of a relationship, or you just got dumped from a job, or whatever happens. But it's not necessarily going for the next thing that's always going to help. You have to understand that being intentional with your time also means being there for you, being there for what you need in that moment. And so maybe it is that night out with your girls, but it should just be that night out with your girls.
Yeah, and I think there's you had mention how there's like defining line between like it being a pattern of yours and a cycle versus like, you know, a day or 2 nights.
Yeah.
Where you go out with your friends and you're like, oh, what if I meet a cute dude?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, he's kind of cute. But if that's a continuous cycle, then that's how you know.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I've like in my culture specifically, like standards are put on me. Like it's a thing. So I've constantly been looking for a person I want to marry, a person I want to meet my standards right away. And if I'm constantly looking for that, I'm not going to find it because I'm just trying to click off like a checkbox. It's like, I did it, now what? But then when I'm in that scenario, what will I do next? So it's like, if you're constantly looking for it, you're trying to validate something in you to maybe feel seen or to maybe go about something like in that moment. And I've done that. I wanted to feel seen because I've been told from my life, like, I have to get married by this, I have to get married by this. But like, that doesn't mean I'm going to find it just because I'm looking for it. It often means like I have to step back, do what I'm meant to be. My path is not guided by someone else.
It's your
and
path.
I'm just chasing something because I was told to do that.
So it's not genuine. And
exactly, it's not intentional.
yeah.
At that point, you're just doing things based off of what you're told. And so I think many people go through this of, in my culture, I know probably a lot of ethnic cultures, you're told a lot of things from a young age. So you kind of go about life mindlessly, like, when I get this job, it's going to be great. I'm going to go about it fine. When I get married, everything's gonna be fine. But then if you think into your present moment, why am I thinking so into the future? Why am I thinking so into what's gonna happen next when I don't even know what's happening now? You know what I mean? So to be intentional with your time is not always looking for the next thing as well. You can be happy with what's happening now and understand that that's what's meant to be happening.
Yeah, and like we said, we feel like the only place to really get there and know that you're intentional and conscious is when you finally have taken the chance to, one, admit that you haven't been, and to like get to know yourself in the deepest forms. What do I really want?
So true.
Because I think you had mentioned that if I'm really looking for it, I'm not going to find it, and that's in your life and your perspective. But I think another way that's just as valid and realistic is something that I've experienced personally, and it's like if I'm constantly looking for it, I'm gonna find it, but I'm not gonna find what I really need or want.
That's it. You're gonna find it, but it's not gonna be what you actually
because I think
deserve.
I think I've experienced that. Like I'm just trying to find, but it's like because I didn't take that time, and still something I'm working on now. Like to know like what is it that you really need, want, like who are you, what makes me happy. In those moments when you're just like I just want to find attention, I just want to find someone that makes me feel pretty, takes care of me, whatever. You're gonna find that shit, girl, but you gonna deal with the repercussions.
The wrong stuff.
I'll let you know that.
So
if that's
true.
something I could have told
That's
myself.
a great way to think about it. It's like you will find it, but it's not gonna be.
But careful what you wish for.
So true.
What I really urge you guys also to understand, and for us even right now in this moment, to like really soak in is that we really need to like grasp the utmost realistic thing that like our time is so valuable.
So true.
And if you aren't really understanding that in like the most like whoa way, you know what I mean? Like we're literally gonna die. We are mortal, right? That's when you're
Mortal,
gonna die.
yeah.
We're mortal beings. Like everything comes to an end. So it's like when you really start to view life like that, it can become scary for some people. But I'm trying to place it more in terms of like our time is so valuable.
And other people's time is very valuable.
Other people's time. So it's like have fun and everything, but also be intentional with the fact that like you will never get this second back.
It's true. And that means being intentional with who you're friends with, what relationships you're putting yourself in, what environments. Like that goes with everything, because would you rather be in an environment where you're happy and with people who are actually giving back to you in different ways, or would you rather be in an environment where you're numbing off the pain, you're just getting rid of it for the moment, it feels good, and then
but you know it'll come back.
You know it'll come back. Like there's two ways to look at it, and that's what being intentional is. It's
look
like
for sustainability.
Exactly, the long term, not the short term effect of something.
Yeah.
Because anything, like having this could come out into having an argument with a friend. I'm gonna yell at you right now and whatever, and I'm not thinking intentionally about it, and it feels good right now, but then you are the one dealing with I feel bad, why did I do that, blah blah blah. But you actually take the time to be like, why am I coming off like this? Why am I being like this? And taking your energy back, you are being intentional with your time, and another person can respect you for that way more, because you're not going off at them. You're not just like, oh, or I just want to sustain, like, get this off my chest right now and deal with the consequences later. Like, I think being intentional is dealing with it now. What can I do now to help me in the future, rather than I'm going to numb this right now and see what happens of it later.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, so just going in terms of like, what do you want?
What do you want in it?
Yeah.
And so, for you, do you think being intentional is like a skill, something that you have to build, or is it something some
automatically
people are, like, can have? Like, how do you think that?
No, I think it's a skill.
Because we think some people are confident, like right off the bat and stuff, but.
No, I think it's a skill. I think we mentioned this earlier, you may have, which was a good point. I was going to elaborate on that. Good thing you asked me this. But I think definitely now it's a skill in terms of how overstimulating we live. Overstimulated we live in such an overstimulating environment. Social media, we live in a big city, Chicago. There's always noise, there's always people, there's always activity, action, which can make you feel alive, but can make you feel also stuck. It's very ironic how that works. But it's a skill in terms of you need to train your brain like, hey, you're hearing it's like, think about it as like a dog, right? Like you're trying to train a puppy, how to sit and tricks in like an overstimulating park where there's donuts and there's other puppies and there's dogs. That dog's gonna have a hard time, and you need to be very patient with it and be like, listen to me. And eventually dogs do that. Dogs do get to that point. That's actually a great thing, but it's gonna take longer, but that's sustainable. So I think it's definitely a skill, and that analogy I'm using is with us. Like we need to be able to like separate like all of these external things and outside noises and really just practice mindfulness. Like come back. Meditation is a great way to do it, journaling. And it's not about trying to force yourself not to let the mind wander, because the mind's always going to wander. Meditate, guys. This is what I'm learning. But it's about learning how to come back. And the more that you continue to learn that, like you will always be distracted. Distractions are, how we've said,
a big part.
All over
especially the place. With social media.
Right.
Like, that is a huge thing in our generation.
Yeah.
And it almost makes you feel sad for our generation, because like we can't escape it. Like it's something we're going to have to live with.
Yeah.
But that's when meditation, journaling, doing things for ourselves can help the greater good.
So, thank you guys once again for listening to Just Right Now, episode 9. Once again, what we hope that you guys take away from this is that it's important to be intentional with your time and practice mindfulness, just as it's important to go to the gym, eat healthy. It's part of getting a step closer to yourself, what you want in life, to not feel as lost, and to build yourself more confidence and self-esteem. So yeah, it's something we're working on as well.
100%, especially in our 20s.
Especially in our 20s.
What you do right now can help define what you do later on. So if you learn this skill now, it is something that will carry through. It doesn't just disappear. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to try and teach you that it's something
be
just right now. Intentional with what you're doing. So thank you for listening. We love you. Please come back next week for
double digits.
Episode 10.